Welcome back to a new deck profile, this time featuring Gammamon. In English, we got the new LM01 support included with BT15, and those are the new cards that will be shown in the deck profile. I really like the deck because there's a lot of different options you can use, and depending on the tech choices you want to put in, your stack and your deck will actually work a bit differently, and that kind of makes it fun every game. And you can change it based on the meta. And yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed the deck profile, and yeah, you can feel free to comment at the end any changes or thoughts you had. Starting with the eggs, we're going to have 4 copies of the RB1 Gammamon. It's very clearly the best egg for the deck, and whenever you increase Digivolution sources once per turn, draw a card. This will mainly be triggered off with our Tamer, but we do have other effects that can trigger it off. And it's good. Drawing without attacking is really nice, because if we're missing a level, that draw 1 can potentially get us what we need to then Digivolve onto. The last egg is 1 copy of the BT8 Gammamon, the original one. When attacking, if it's 6,000 or more, draw 1. They're all draw eggs. This one's a bit better, again, because you draw before you attack. But I feel like Gammamon's good enough that you can run both, and I like running 5 eggs if there are 5 eggs that I feel are usable in a deck. But if you just want 4 eggs, you can take out that Gammamon. Just run the 4, it's probably fine anyways. I just like 5 for those scenarios where you do need a 5th egg. Chuck him right at the top. On to our level 3s, we start off with 4 copies of the RB1 Gammamon. It is the searcher of the deck, reveal top 3, add any card with Gammamon in its text, and you can add a hero. This is really good. Even if we reveal multiple Tamers, we can actually add multiple Tamers, we can add stuff that supports the archetype, but technically isn't Gammamon. It's a good card, and it has inheritable plus 2000. So just a really solid card overall, no complaints. You have to run 4 of it. Next, for the level 3, we run 2 copies of the P59 promo Gammamon. This is the winner art, if you've seen an art that's different. It basically just has the inheritable. If we have our hero in play, we get plus 2000. I used to run this at 4 copies, however with the new cards, I feel like 2 is enough. It doesn't actually do anything on play or any major effect, we just run it for the plus 2000. A new addition to the deck from LM01 or BT15 for us, we run the new purple Gammamon. Note that it does Digivolve on Gammamon for 0, so as long as you're running Gammamons as our eggs, it's totally fine. It has 2 effects, which are both really nice. It's inheritable on deletion, lets us play one of our hero tamers from a hand for free, which is really good, because we want as many of those hero in play as possible. And previously, we only could play the first hero for free, and then have to pay for the rest, but this will let us potentially play multiple throughout the game. Its all turns effect is when an effect deletes another one of our Digimon, this Digimon can Digivolve into something with Gammamon in its text without paying the cost. There's a number of applications for this. Obviously, if you just have this Gammamon and something else by itself, if this one's deleted, this one can Digivolve into a level 4 from trash. It works really well with the Pokemon, which I will go into shortly. But do note that our level 5 and above will inherit all effects of Gammamon, and it's important to note that they will also be able to Digivolve using this effect, because it just says enter Digimon with Gammamon in its text, so it doesn't need to be a level 4 Gammamon. So that means our level 5 could potentially Digivolve into a level 6 from trash for free, or level 6 can Digivolve into our level 7 for free. This opens up a whole lot of opportunities of what we can do. The effect is hard to go off at times because of needing, well, we need at least 2 Digimon out and we need the other one to be deleted. So it's mainly for if we have Pokemon as the main reason, or if we have 2 stacks. But yeah, don't underestimate this card, it's surprisingly strong. The last 2 Gammamon I feel are flex spots. So at the moment we have 10. And I feel the last 2 with the P65 Gammamon and the old BT8 Gammamon. The P65 Gammamon has the on play to delete something with 2000 or less, and the when attacking to delete something with 2000 or less. The BT8 one, when we play Red Tamer, we draw 1, and when attacking, if we have 6000 or more, we delete something with 3000 or less. There's pros and cons to both. The reason I really like this one is because we can bring this back from trash quite easily, and having 1 in trash gives us the opportunity to pop rookies, even during the opponent's turn, if we're deleted during the opponent's turn. And this can stop them, swinging with a rookie for game. So I feel like having 1 or 2 in the deck is a nice little emergency option just to pop rookies. This Gammamon, the effect when you play Red Tamer doesn't come up often anymore. But the when attacking deletes 3000 or less, so it does have a higher when attacking threshold. Also, I like this one because it's the alt art, and I think it's really nice alt art to show the Ghost game starters. So that's why I run 1. But feel free to change these Gammamons how you like. They're kind of like the last 2 to make it a nice 12. To finish off the level 3s, I run 3 copies of the LM01 Pokemon. This card solves a lot of problems for the deck. First of all, he's another searcher. Because our deck is multiple colored, all the training or memory boost options aren't as good in this deck, because we got 40% chance to whiff the search with all the non-red cards we run. But this is like this Gammamon, it's another thing that can just on play search. This one will only ever grab 1 card, but it does look at the top 4 rather than the top 3. The main reason, well, the searching effect helps with consistency, but the other reason we run it is all turns, if one of our other Digimon with Gammamon in its text would leave the battlefield, other than by our own effects, we can delete this Digimon to prevent them from leaving. That might sound a lot like Decoy, because it basically is Decoy on steroids. If they would leave the field in any way, if we would be bounced to hand, sent to the bottom of the deck, even if Chaos Degrade would put it in security, we can delete this Digimon to stop our Digimon from leaving play, which is really strong. It's exactly what the deck needed, which is protection. And it works well with this Gammamon too, because if this Gammamon is in the stack, Pokemon deletes itself, which means we can also Digivolve for free after. I was trying this at 2 copies, because you don't really need to see multiple, and the downside is we can't Digivolve on our egg with this, and we can't put level 4s on it. It's the white Digimon, so we can't actually use it for Digivolving purposes. However, seeing more just helps you see the pieces you need and gives the protection, so I really like the 3 copies of Pokemon. Moving on to our level 4s, there's so much room for flexibility with our level 4s. Starting off, I run just 2 copies of the RB1 Battle Gammamon. It'll give our stack Raid, and when Digivolving, if we don't have a hero, play 1 for free. I am going to kind of rocket through these level 4s, so you kind of get a picture, but this is good to see early game to play hero for free, and Raid's always nice. I run 3 copies of the RB1 Gurus Gammamon. It's got the end of attack. We can delete this Digimon to delete one of our opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal. This is really good because we have a number of effects that trigger on deletion, and not only do we get rid of an opponent's Digimon, we can kind of force our on deletion effects to trigger. Anyone who's played a purple deck, for example Eisbon, knows how annoying it can be when you actually want to be deleted, but you're not, and this will make sure that you are deleted. And then all the Gurus Gammamons have the effect on deletion, play Gammamon from trash for free, which means you can get free searching. This will potentially make a nice new stack, pop a rookie. Yeah, I've debated running this at 4 copies. I really like the purple ones more than any other color, just because they're consistently good, and the fact that they bring back Gammamons makes it faster to make a second stack. Next up, I run 3 copies of the BT10 Gammamon. Exactly same on deletion effect, but its other effect is all turns, it's going to have retaliation, as long as it has Gammamon in its sources, which it always will. Yeah, retaliation's good. It allows us to kind of attack into opponent's Digimon if needed. It also gives us a little bit of protection during opponent's turn, because they know if they attack into us with a bigger Digimon, they have to face retaliation. Yeah, both of them are good. I don't know which one I like more. You can cut this down to 2 to increase this one up to 4, or just increase anything by an extra 1. Again, I've been really leaning into the purple side, so I run 3 of each, but there's a lot of room for flexibility if you want to run different level 4s, or different ratios. Next, I run 2 copies of the BT8 Gammamon. This is the one that gives Blitz. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. Obviously, you know, being able to Blitz for game can kind of help, but it doesn't actually come up that much in this deck. It works better with a higher level stuff, because rather than passing turn, for example, when we go into a level 6, we're allowed to attack, which is really nice. This one works well with the RB1 Gammamon, because no matter what memory we're on, if we can Blitz and then end of attack delete ourselves to delete one of opponent's Digimon with equal SDP, it's a nice little combo to make sure we get a lot of offense going. We don't want to be sitting around too long, not doing much. We want to be kind of gassing it up as much as possible and being on the offense. I mainly run 2 copies, because when I ran 1, it was hard to see a copy when I needed to, whilst with 2 I always saw it. But I actually rarely go into this one as much, so you could cut it down to 1. Lastly, for the level 4s, I run 2 copy of the RB1 Wisdom Gammamon. Very simply as blocker. I feel like it's really good for a safety net. We don't have any like recovery in the deck, and without this card we don't have any blockers either. And yeah, mainly, I mean, him as a blocker himself doesn't really do much, but the fact he can make our level 5 and above stacks be blocker is really important. If they're bigger, we can trigger it on deletion. This works well with the retaliation Gammamon, because we'll have blocker retaliation. Yeah, and I feel like 2, again, we run 2 to make sure we see 1 when we need it. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like this is a solid card defensively for the deck. As you might notice, there is 12 level 6s, which feels like a high amount. But because of the tamer will constantly be using our level 3 or 4s. 12 is what I consider actually the minimum to run in this deck. Moving on to the level 5s, starting off with probably the most consistently best one, the RB1 Gammamon. First of all the level 5s have the effect on field and inheritable that they gain the sources of all Digimon with Gammamon in the names. This is what makes the deck work. It means it's why they don't have inheritables, because they don't need inheritables, because we'll gain all the effects anyways. Just in case you somehow didn't know what the Gammamon deck does, that's how it works. We don't need inheritables, we just get all their main effects anyways. So for example, Gammamon on the Gammamon will have the retaliation and the on deletion effect. What makes this Gammamon good is that if we have a Gammamon that has a Gammamon or Gammamon card in its sources, we can just Digivolve onto this, ignoring the normal Digivolution requirements. So basically we have a Gammamon, we have something tucked under it, we could just skip our level 4 and go straight from level 3 to level 5, still paying the 3 memory cost. It doesn't actually do anything else on field except for inheriting the other effects. And as such, I run it as 3 copies, because it can be awkward when you see it really early and you don't have the ability to warp. Because without the warping ability, it doesn't actually do anything else special. But you really want 3 copies, because this is the one that's the cheapest to go up into a 6 from. Boop. Next up, for the level 5s, I run 2 copies of the RB1 Regulusmon. It has, again, the same kind of all turns inheriting the effects. It's when digivolving and when attacking effect. We can trash a card with Gammamon in its text, and then one of our Digimon gains on deletion, delete one of our opponent's Digimon with the lowest level until the end of the opponent's turn. This is one of those on deletion effects that can be really nasty, and basically means if they would take us out during their turn, we'll take out their lowest lowest level Digimon. It also means that coupled with this Ghost Gammamon, we can potentially attack into one of their Digimon, and then end attack, delete ourselves, delete one of their Digimon, and then when we're deleted, delete one of their Digimon. I've used this against something like Bloomlord, and with a bunch of other inherited effects, you can basically wipe out the whole field in one turn. It also will be very nice to help protect you, in a way, from piercing if they only have 1 stack. Yeah, so it's really good. The fact it lasts till the end of their turn makes a big difference. The fact that it's just one of your Digimon, it doesn't even have to be this Digimon. You can give this effect to like your Pokemon, and then if your Pokemon is deleted, then you delete their lowest level. So you don't even have to give it to itself, you can just give it to any one of your Digimon. And because it's when digivolving and when attacking, you can use this effect almost every turn if you want to. Pretty much the only downside is you have to trash a card with Gammamon in its text to use it. And building trash is nice, but you don't always want to trash cards, so only downside. Also, it's a 9k level 5, so pretty beefy boy. These are the ones I consider mandatory. Everything else you can change around a little bit, but these are what this is what I've been using. I still use 1 copy of the BT10 Gammamon, mainly because I like the alternate art, but the other reason is that this is the strongest level 5 by itself, because if your team is suspended, it gets plus 2,000, and then if it's 10,000 or more, it gets, if it's 12,000 or more, then it gets security attack plus 1. Reaching that 12,000 threshold is super easy in this deck. Pretty much any inheritable or tamer will make it go to 10,000, and then its own plus 2,000 will make it 12. But yeah, the main reason I run this is because that security attack plus 1 effect is really nice, and kind of makes it our strongest level 5 to swing at security a lot. Running 1 copy of the new Regulusmon Ace. I have a love-hate relationship with this card. Again, the fact that we have 2 aces in this deck is really cool, because we can catch our opponent by surprise by blast digivolving. And then it's on play, and when digivolving, we can trash a card in hand to put a card with Gammamon in its text into its sources, and then whenever its sources increase, we can delete a level 4 or lower Digimon to play back a level 4 or lower Digimon from our trash. The most important thing to note with this card is that we delete a level 4 or lower on either field, so the main thing we want to use this is to delete one of our opponent's level 4 Digimon to bring back one of our level 4 lower Digimon. Note that it doesn't have to be a Gammamon, so we can bring back Pokemon, which is actually probably a better choice in most scenarios, so we can protect our ace. Fun fact, it doesn't even... The level 4 lower Digimon doesn't even have to have Gammamon in its text. So, I mean, technically, if you run a random level 3, you can bring back any level 3 or 4, well, any level 4 or lower from trash. So, kind of funny. Doesn't actually come up in this deck, but I guess it's kind of funny. This is a very solid card, and its only downside is that it feels like it doesn't do a lot if the opponent doesn't have level 4 or lower Digimon to delete. Because if we have to delete our own Digimon to bring back level 4 or lower, it doesn't feel like it does a lot. it will technically trigger some on deletion effects, and whatever we bring back can trigger its on play effect, but it doesn't make it go like, wow, what a cool ace, unless you're deleting one of your opponent's things. Only exception is this: on a stack with this Gammamon, we can just delete something, bring it back, and then with this effect, we'll go up into a level 6 for free. That's pretty neat. I'm debating running this at 2 copies because I like having a Blast Digimon, but again, if I don't run low level stuff, it's not as good. One also major downside is that this is the only level 5 that doesn't automatically inherit all the effects. It doesn't have the inheritable, and it has no effect on it to make it inherit all the Gammamon effects. So it feels like you can put any Digimon under it with its effect, but you basically have to put one of the level 5s under it in order to inherit the effects. Again, since you trash one, you don't need one in your trash automatically, because you trash first, then put one under. So you can, trash this and then put this under. Wow, all good. But that's just a really important thing to note, that if this is the only level 5 you have, and there's no other level 5s in trash, nothing else in your hand, this card loses a lot of impact because it won't get all the other effects. So if you are running this, I'd run a maximum of 2 copies, because it's kind of useless without any other level 5. Possible exception if you're just hard playing this, and you're not really using this as to make a big stack, you're just kind of using it for utility. My last level 5, I got given this at the pre-release event, and was told I have to use it, so I am running 1 copy of Gammamon. It's actually not too bad. The on play doesn't really come up because we don't have a way to play our level 5s. So it's basically just a when digivolving effect. We give one of our opponent's Digimon minus 3000, and on deletion lose a memory. It's pretty good. We can instantly take out something with 3000 or less, and we'll kind of gain a memory from that. The main use is that it works well with our level 6s, because whatever we affect with this, we can then just go into a level 6, delete it, and then they'll lose a memory. Again, note that this effect lasts till the end of their turn, which means if they're deleted during their turn, they'll still lose a memory, which can be important. If you run it with the ace, it can really catch your opponent by surprise with the ace, because in a way they'll kind of lose 2 memories if you delete something with the ace after you've affected it with this effect. So potentially you could bump it up if you have a higher ace amount. Yeah, I'm not really sure. There's so many level 5s you can try. If you don't like this, feel free to bump any of these up. But most of the ratios are very flexible. Ironically, the most set in stone ratio are your level 6s. So we are running 3 copies of Arcturusmon. Because of the nature of the level 7 in the deck, you kind of have to run a 50-50 split between the Arcturusmons and the Siriusmons. And since this is the only Arcturusmon in the game, we are running 3 of this, and there's not much debate about that. It does cost 4 to digivolve, so it is our most expensive digivolution, but it is 13,000. When digivolving, we can put something from our trash under it to delete something with level less than or equal to this Digimon's digivolution cards. Sometimes, if we haven't put cards under, we won't be able to delete the level 6 or higher, but if we have the tamer going, we've gone from breeding area, we can probably delete anything. So it doesn't always let us delete anything, but most of the time it does, as long as we've got our tamers going. And then it's got the nasty on deletion, that we can return any Digimon from our trash to our hand. And then by trashing Siriusmon, we can play Proximamon from our hand for free. This is one of the main ways we go into a level 7. Why digivolve into it when we can go into it for free? Again, because of how high its DP is, and the fact that we've probably boosted the DP higher, we don't often trigger this on deletion. So something like this Ghost Gammamon, which can force us to be deleted, this is one of the cards that's really useful with that, because there are times we want to bring out a level 7, but this guy just doesn't die. This one also has a very nice inheritable, that when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, we can trash the top card of their security. And the way this works, a lot of cards will put this under and then delete something, which means we will get to trash security. So yeah, it's a very good card overall. Honestly, only downside is that his on deletion doesn't trigger as often as you might think because of how big he is. Next up, for level 6s, we run 2 copies of the RB1 Seriousmon. It costs 3 to digivolve, so it is cheaper. And when digivolving, by placing a card from our hand under it, we can delete one of our opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this card's DP. He's only 11,000, but again, with inheritables and the tamers boosting by 2,000 as well, he should be able to delete almost anything. And then, when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, you may unsuspend this Digimon. This pairs well with something like Blitz, because we potentially Blitz and unsuspend, just so we're unsuspended during the opponent's turn. It means if our level 5s have attacked, although we don't do it super often, yeah, we can just unsuspend. It doesn't come up as often as you might think, but it's still a nice effect to have. Also, because it's a may effect, we may unsuspend the Digimon. It means we can delete by our effect, swing into one of the Digimon, then unsuspend, then swing again. So that's probably the main use of it, is this. We won't unsuspend by the effect, we'll unsuspend if we attack and delete something. But yeah, this used to be at 3 copies to make a nice even 6 level 6s. However, the last level 6 is 1 copy of Seriousmon Ace. I think this Ace is very average, but I like it because it's an Ace still and it's kind of cool. Blast Digivolving can catch opponent by surprise. It has a similar effect when Digivolving. We can place a card with Gammamon in its text from our hand under its sources to delete something with 8,000 or less. And then for every colour in the sources, we increase the DP deletion by 1,000. We'll pretty much always have red and purple, so this will probably always delete 10,000 or less. And then maybe more if we have it green or yellow or white. But yeah, so far I haven't had much luck deleting level 6s with this effect. Just because we really need a very colourful stack to delete the level 6. But it still catches a lot of level 5 or lowers off guard. And then all turns when a Digimon is deleted, gain a memory. That 1 memory can potentially change the ability to go up and keep it their turn. If on 0 memory or pass it to your turn, I think it's still a nice card. But because it's not super good, and because the Ace will give us a -4 overflow if it leaves the field, I only run 1 of a level 6. The last Digimon in the deck is 2 copies of the level 7 Proximamon. This card is both good and bad. If we had to Digivolve into it normally, I would say it's not even that good, and probably would cut it to 1 copy. Digivolves for 6, but Digivolves for 3 on a Seriousmon with Archrysmon in its text. And both of these Seriousmon can put an Archrysmon from our hand under them, so then we can Digivolve into our level 7 for 3 cost. It doesn't do anything on Digivolving, but it does have the end of turn. We can place a card with Gammamon in its text from a hand or trash into its sources to delete something with DP less than or equal to this Digimon's DP. Because this is 15,000, even if we hard played it with this effect, so there's no like inheritables, 15,000 should delete most things. It gets rid of annoying things like Quartzmon even. And then all turns, when another Digimon is deleted, we can play a level 4 or lower with Gammamon in its name from our trash without paying the cost. Because this one specifies name, we can't play the Pokemon with this effect, but we're going to bring out any of our level 3s or level 4s. This is really good, and it pairs well with the blocker, because this can bring out the blocker, and then because its effect is all turns, if we block and it's deleted, Proximamon will just bring back the blocker. So That's pretty good in that regards. Obviously, if we can bring back just anything to start making a new cool stack next turn. Because Arctismon can also play it with its own deletion effect, I feel like 2 copies is a good amount. We might digivolve into 1, we might play 1 for free, who knows, but it is pretty solid. It's not like our main win con by any means, and but the card's not that expensive nowadays, so it really is like just grab 2, it's good. Last of all, we have, first I'm just going to take a second to move all the cards, because apparently I did not leave enough space this time. But yes, moving on to our tamers. We're starting off with 4 copies of the RB1 hero. This card's really good. Start of main, which again, is after the breeding. We can place the card with Gammamon in its name into the sources to gain a memory and draw 1. This is very similar to the Crossheart Tamer, the Trio Tamer, that lets you put, something under the Tamer to draw 1 and gain a memory. This is the same thing. Yeah, we technically don't go up in cards because we lose a card in hand to draw 1, but we're increasing the sources, getting more effects, we're gaining memory, which is important. Yeah, it's essential to see this card as soon as possible, and we love seeing multiple of this card as well. It also has the effect that when our sources increase, we can suspend it to give plus 2000. So we're going to be pretty big during our turn if we have multiple of these. Our deck doesn't really struggle with reaching high DP thresholds if we want to. But yeah, this card is really essential at 4, but it's going to be gaining memory every turn. It helps with consistency. Yeah, it's a really good card overall. So we're running 4 copies of the hero. Next up, we run 2 copies of the Memory Tamer hero. This is the new art from LM01, but it is just the BT8 hero, and he's just the memory setter for the deck. And then with free attack with anything that has Gammamon in its name or level 5 or higher, which is literally the entire deck except Pokemon, we can just suspend this tamer to give it plus 2000. Not much else to say. It's a searchable memory tamer that we can play out for free, so I really like it. Its second effect is kind of redundant because it does the same as this, and there's only so many plus 2000s we really want in a deck. But I feel like it's still solid, so I run 2 copies of the memory tamer. Last card of the deck. Again, most decks I like to run some kind of option that can pop off in security or acts as an emergency button. So I run 1 copy of Trident Gaia. Just because delete one opponent's Digimon with the highest DP, and if they're 13,000 or more, we trash the top card of security. It's pretty much like the strongest red option at the moment for getting rid of a big threat. So I like running as a one-of. If you don't like this, you can change it for something else. But yeah, I really like it still, as a one-of. But yeah, that's the deck. Sorry that some of the cards are slightly cut out. Let me put my hand here. Feel free to take a picture or a screenshot if you want to see a general idea. But now I'll just go into a couple of options. There are so many options for this deck that, if you want to stick around and hear a couple of options, then that's what I'm going to go through now. First of all, there is the other hero that gives pretty much anything in our deck. Security attack +1, as long as it has Gammamon and its Digivolution sources. This will increase how fast you can take the opponent out. And if you don't like, for example, the Memory Tamer, maybe you only want 1 Memory Tamer, or you don't like any Memory Tamers, this is a solid substitute. It will make you win the game faster. But the downside I find is that seeing multiple of these doesn't really help. There's only so much security attack. I mean, it's cool, but paying 3 memory means we really want to see it early, and the later the game goes, the more redundant the card is. Again, it's still worthwhile. You can still take out Memory Tamer Hero for it. I just find that I'd rather have the Memory Tamer than the Security Attack +1 Tamer, but it's your choice. Another option is any other red option like Crimson Blaze. We can take out Trident Gaia to put Crimson Blaze in. It really just depends on the meta. Back in BT14, I would 100% say Crimson Blaze is the best red option to run. But it really is personal choice. This is giving you another option. There is the Gammamon Archetype option, Breaklaw. For 1 memory, we give it plus 2000. And then by placing a Gammamon named card in the sources, we also draw 1. The main use of this is if we aren't seeing the 3-cost hero, because putting a Gammamon in the sources will help us warp Digivolve with Gammamon, and will also trigger the draw 1 with the eggs. So in a way, it kind of acts as a makeshift 5th hero in that regards. However, I find that it doesn't really pack enough punch for what it does. I found it to be neat, but just didn't really have a big enough impact. Honestly, the security effect is kind of cool too. Play Gammamon from hand to trash. A bunch of archetypes have a option that do this nowadays. But it's cool when that goes off as well. But yeah, if you want to run it, I feel like it's a solid card, but just doesn't provide enough oomph to really bother adding one. For level 3s, we do have this Gammamon that, as long as you have a Tamer, we can attack unsuspended Digimon, which is basically a better version of Raid. The reason I don't run it is because it costs 1 to Digivolve onto our eggs. So we basically just want to chuck this in from our hand. And if I'm just placing this from my hand under it, I would rather just run a 3rd copy of the Battle Gammamon than 1 copy of this. That's my logic anyways. Again, a lot of the ratios you can change a lot. Up to you. For level 4s, there is the Wezen Gammamon that gives piercing. This is actually not too bad, especially if they have lower stuff we can pierce through. Obviously, it'll make them second guess about blocking if we pierce through. The trouble with the level 4s is that we really want 2 blockers. I want at least 1 blitz. Again, it could be reduced. The purple Gammamons could be reduced to 5 copies total between the 2. And you need at least 2 of this as well. So we kind of like, the struggle is choosing what to take out. And again, it depends on what your local's meta is. I kind of went with the ones that actually don't really care about what the opponent has, just generically good. But this falls into like, sometimes it's really good, sometimes it doesn't do a lot. It depends how valuable piercing is, but feel free to run one if you want. Same way, we have the old Chaos Gammamon. This Digimon can't be blocked. Again, this mainly only comes up in scenarios where they have a lot of blockers. You know, if I only have 1 blocker, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But it's really good against decks like Mastermon that might have blocker retaliation. You know, they can't stop us swinging security that turn. Really good against something like D-Brigade, because no matter how many blockers they have, they can't stop us swinging. But yeah, it kind of fills a niche that against some decks it's really good, and other decks that don't even have blockers, it's just useless. So again, feel free to run 1 copy if you want, but just note that there will be times it doesn't do anything. Next we have the RB1 Chaos Gammamon that gives Evade. Evade is a nice effect to have for any deck really. However, I feel like it's not that useful in this deck. We have a lot of on deletion effects, and times that we want to be deleted. So Evade isn't always useful, but it's still nice. But also with the addition of Pokemon, it just makes Evade less useful, because we already have a way for protection. We have on deletion effects. You know, do we want to be deleted if we have the choice? Probably not. You know, so Evade's definitely still nice to have, but I just don't feel like it's needed. Again, feel free to run a copy if you want to though. The 2 other level 5s are the Gilead Humon and the Fumamon. Sorry if I'm butchering the names. But yeah, this one will suspend something with DP less than or equal, and this one trashes the top 3 sources of Digimon with DP less than or equal, and then they both kind of stun. This one stops them unsuspending, this one makes it so they can't attack, so you know, both ways they kind of stop them from attacking next turn. The downside is that they are both 7,000, so you need a couple of boosts to make sure you can actually hit the right thing. And the rest of the deck doesn't really stack with what they do. Suspending something good, but unless relying on a lot of piercing potentially, it's not that amazing. Nice, but not amazing. And this one, trashing sources. Again, we can get rid of really annoying inheritables, but there's nothing else in the deck that kind of strategizes with source stripping. Again, you can run whatever ratio you want. There might be a level 5 here you don't like, maybe the old Cannon Weissmon, Ace, Bombamon, and you want to add one of these in, and I say go for it. The beauty of the deck is that you can kind of change it up based on what you like. There are some Digimon that I feel like are essential at the ratios they are, but there's a lot that's really flexible. Finally, we have some really niche options. I didn't bother finding one for my stack, but we do run a lot of red tamers, so you can run a red hybrid just to swing for game. Do note that Arcturusmon, on deletion, returns any Digimon from the trash to the hand. Doesn't have to be something with Gammamon in its text, just adds anyone. So even if they hit a hybrid insecurity, if Arcturusmon's deleted, we could potentially add a hybrid back and just, you know, use one of these, swing for game. One copy of Gammamon. If we have multiple stacks of level 4s, this is obviously good. There's clearly a number of different colors, so we can give a decent chunk of DP minus. And as long as the Gammamon puts in one of our level 5s with an inheritable, so everyone except the Ace, don't put the Ace under, we will still inherit all the Gammamon effects, as long as we put one of the level 5 under with its effect, which it does do. So again, it's not part of the archetype, but it's actually surprisingly solid, as long as we put a level 5 under. And it kind of gives a low level board clearing, in a way. So, also it gets rid of summoning sickness, you know, if we need to do that final swing for game. So I wouldn't say I love this card, but it is an option. Same with the hybrid, kind of helps us go for game too. And speaking of going for game, there's also the option of the one copy of the Dorbikmon from EX3. Yeah, I mean, it works with anything that has dragon in the traits, or Ceratopsian as well. The errata does count Ceratopsian, and basically, not all, but almost all of the deck can be used to digicross into this, as long as we use 5 things with different names. So probably like Gammamon, Beto, Gurus, Wezen, and any of these other ones. If you're leading into this, you potentially want to run one or more different named stuff, just so it's a little bit easier. But yeah, if we digicross with 5 things, we are playing this for just 3 memory instead of 13 if we put 5. And if we put 5 under, we will delete something with 13,000 or less. And has rush, so we can use it to swing for game. Just another option for swinging for game. This Gammamon and hybrid are pretty much the only ways this deck has to get past summoning sickness, because we have Blitz, but we don't have anything else. And if they board wipe us, we just have to build up in the breeding area and kind of not attack that turn. So one of those options potentially. Oh yeah, downside of this is your hand is going to become very small after using this, depending how many cards you put under it, and that's important to note. I don't really like using this, unless it's for game or in an end game scenario. But it's cool, it catches people off guard, they'll never expect it. But yeah, that's all for the deck profile. Hope you enjoyed. I know this has been a longer deck profile, and I could probably talk about the deck for like ages more. Like, there's so much the deck can potentially do, and there's also so many like small problems the deck has. Yeah, I feel like it's a solid deck still. Very fun to play. Feel free to comment suggestions below. I know there'll hopefully be comments, and there'll surely be comments about different ratios. Again, for some of them, there's no right ratio for the deck anyways. And that's a fun part of the deck. Everyone's Gammamon deck probably looks a little bit different. That's what I really like. Anyway, that's all. Hope you enjoy, and I'll catch you next time.